As I've just demonstrated, while it often appears we do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80 bipartisan bills into law last year, from preventing government shutdowns, to protecting aging Americans from still too common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago. It's important. It's important for us to show the nation we can come together and do big things. So tonight I'm offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big things we can do together, in my view. First, beat the opioid epidemic. There's so much we can do. Increase funding for prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and recovery. Get rid of outdated rules and stop doctors that stop doctors prescribing.
So debates on Social Security have been sparked in Congress among Democrats and Republicans. Lawmakers and economists are now urging that monthly Social Security benefits be increased to help Americans during this crisis. So here's the most important stimulus check and Social Security news that you want to know. Social Security beneficiaries are receiving the highest COLA adjustment in decades. That's thanks to rising inflation. The 5.9% increase went into effect in January. Prices have continued to climb higher since then, back in October. And according to data released this week, the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, climbed 7% in December from the previous year. That's the fastest increase since 1982. And excluding food and energy prices, the index was up 5.5% from the previous year. Record high inflation comes as policymakers and experts are debating whether Social Security's annual cost of living adjustment accurately reflects the price increases that seniors face. The Social Security Administration used a specific measurement known as the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers to calculate those annual adjustments. But friends, new Social Security reform bills has just been proposed in Congress. This bill seeks to change the measurement to an experimental index for people ages 62 and over, known as the CPI for the elderly, or the CPIE. President Biden advocated for this change along with other Social Security reforms during his campaign. Social Security and senior advocacy groups have called for changing over to the CPIE, which was created in 1987 by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And according to the president of an advocacy group of Social Security Works, this bill ensures that benefits will not erode but will maintain the purchasing power over time. But according to some economists, to best measure the cost that seniors face, it may make more sense to use a different measure than CPIE, which just reweighs data collected for the population as a whole. And according to some few economists, that change should not be a first priority, as more urgent fixes are needed to improve Social Security solvency. If nothing is done by 2034, just 78% of benefits will be payable. But beneficiaries who are worried about rising prices can now take comfort in the fact that they will be factored into next year's COLA. There is no guarantee the annual increase in 2023 will be as high. The second round of Social Security checks, reflecting a new cost of living adjustment of 5.9%, are going out February. The COLA increase is the largest in nearly 40 years for recipients to qualify. It comes at a time when inflation is at 7% and expected to continue rising. Those whose birthday falls between the 1st and 10th of the month will receive the payment on Wednesday. For those whose birthdays falls between 11th and 20th, the payment will arrive the following Wednesday. And if your birthday is anywhere from the 21st to the 31st, then your payment will get out the last Wednesday of the month. There is also a petition calling on the federal government to provide Americans with $2,000 stimulus checks, and this is the Change.org petition. Today, that online petition calls for action in Congress. Nancy Pelosi said in an interview that more people need help now and more help should be on the way. Stephanie Bonin says she is already hearing from supporters of the petition who need more stimulus checks now.
The Republican leader.
Last night, President Biden gave a State of the Union address that might have worked okay for a popular administration that had been successfully tackling America's problems and actually earning high marks. But that's not the reality in which we live. Democrats spent the last 12 months making major and painful policy errors. The public overwhelmingly disapproves. President Biden didn't need to stay the course and rehash a scattered wish list. He needed to make a dramatic pivot, but he chose not to. The President first discussed Ukraine. Everyone agrees with the sentiments President Biden expressed, but the sentiments are not enough. The President articulated no meaningful new steps, no specific plan. He made no explicit commitment to keep flowing weapons, intelligence, and advanced capabilities into Ukraine as long as the Ukrainians need them. Nor did he explain why his administration was slow to provide lethal assistance in the first place. Instead, the President focused on trying to claim credit for the remarkable European and worldwide response that his administration did not foresee, let alone orchestrate. Apart from Ukraine, the President's other remarks on our dangerous world were not just insufficient, they were basically non-existent. The President spoke for over an hour, but only mentioned China twice. Neither time had anything to do with national security or military modernization. The President only mentioned Iran one time, and it was literally by accident. Zero mentions of North Korea, zero mentions of the botched Afghanistan retreat the administration originally boasted was a, quote, success, end quote. Our 13 service members who lost their lives are completely unmentioned until Governor Reynolds took the microphone. And zero mentions of rebuilding the defense budget that President Biden actually tried to cut last year. Meanwhile, the President's speech tried to skate by the serious kitchen table concerns that are actually keeping families up at night. The President talked about Made in America, but keeps fighting against energy independence. Democrats want us to buy American, but not American oil and gas. On President Biden's watch, we've set a new record for importing Russian oil, and we're begging OPEC to produce even more. And his energy vision is to dump huge subsidies into supply chains that are dominated by China, borrowing from our grandkids to build back Beijing. The President tried yet again to revive